Hi there, everybody. It is Deb from Deb's Corner Canada, trying to do this video before the sun goes down, literally. So I am actually today going to talk a little bit about cyber stalking, actually a lot about cyber stalking. And it's been a challenging few months for me, so excuse me for kind of not being out and about. I have been really working on a lot of ideas as well, so there's more to come. But right now we're gonna deal with cyber stalking because it's kind of front and center in today's society. I've dealt with it a little bit myself over the past few months, to be quite honest with you, and it's been a little bit challenging. I have also dealt with recovering from shoulder surgery, which I had back in June, and so it's still there, but at least I can kind of move it around now, which is good. And you'll notice in the other videos I wasn't really moving it. I was more moving this arm, so there's a little more movement and many blessings because it feels so much better. So I'm just moving on and carrying forward here, and I'm really glad that you guys keep tuning in. I'm so glad. Okay, but there's been other shenanigans going on as well, so I think all of this needs to be dealt with just really out there globally right now, and with a lot of people probably experiencing it themselves. Okay, just to give you an idea of just kind of how it works, who does it, why they do it, the inane reasons, the strange reasons, illegal reasons that all of these people feel that, it's their right to break into your gadgets and, stalk you and all these other ridiculous things that is not their right to do, by the way. Okay, so I was actually going to do this video on November 28th, but it was my birthday, and so I just kind of wanted to really make sure this was correct for you guys. Before I did that as well. I didn't want to rush it, so I just kind of waited it out a bit. Okay, but I'm so glad to be back. It's unbelievable, but I'm back. Okay, I am, so today's topic is actually going to be gang stalking and the narcissist. Okay, this is something that they tend to do as you and I breathe. This is something that just is par for the course with toxic people in general, but with narcissists, it is, I'm going to tell you, I've never met one that doesn't do it. Okay, it doesn't matter the breed, if it's psychopathy, if it's sociopathy, if it's just the average, whatever narc, it doesn't matter. This tends to be part kind of how they deal with things, because it is very difficult for them to not have control. It's very control based as usual, right? As we've discussed in many of our other videos, kind of going down the line. So I wanted to go over some definitions of kind of what that is, what that can look like, how that appears, kind of the types that happen, the types of people that do this, typically the types of people that kind of add in and pile on to this kind of thing, and the surprising groups of the people, family, organizations that actually are doing this in the background. And I think it's really kind of important that we all kind of are aware of them. Okay, there's no need to be paranoid or anything else. There's good government bodies, but there's also corrupt. And sometimes you really gotta dig a little deeper. When you feel something is off, you investigate it. You keep going. Don't let it go. Okay? Keep speaking up. All right, so gang stalking. It is defined as a pervasive pattern of unwanted or fixated obsessive behavior, right? Like par for the course, right? And which is repeated, okay? It's repeated, it's persistent, it's pervasive, and it's very intrusive to you. Many different ways, okay, but very intrusive to you. And in essence, what's happening here, and what it's all about, is it's a paranoid disorder. It's paranoia, okay? They're paranoid about something or other. We're going to go over a few of them, but it's basically a paranoid disorder at the core, okay? And so various types that are going to be included kind of within this realm are cyber hacking, in-person stalking, GPS monitoring, and sabotage, okay? And the sabotage can be done through your cell phone, through your modem, through fraud, through smearing, through identity fraud, real estate fraud, government fraud, organizational fraud. It can be done on so many levels that it would blow your mind, really. Okay, so it can be done by blocking your emails, breaking into your email so that you're not getting your blessings from the divine and for your purpose, okay? Everybody's got a purpose and things are supposed to be doing. And what happens is these groups tend to, once they think you might be telling the truth or helping other people, will tend to target you, okay? Because our light irritates demons. It irritates them. It irritates them so much that their paranoia gets to insane levels, insane levels, okay? Which is not acceptable, period, whatsoever, okay? And I'm just trying to beat the sunlight here that's going down, by the way, so I'm sorry if I'm speaking a little too fast, okay? But so basically what they'll do is block your blessings, okay? And they can be from jobs, from opportunities, so that's why they would hack into like your emails, your phone, try to mess up your communication. They'll make fake pages, they'll make it so you can't get into your social media, which actually just happened to myself. So this has personally just happened to me, okay? Where my pages were hacked and people weren't, you know, getting my writings and just crazy things like that, okay? Which you can report, and I'll let you know at the end, okay? So, you know, they'll go into your emails, your mail, your phones, they'll hack your car, a lot of things, crazy things like that, okay? But in essence, it's really, what's happening is it's a group think, okay? And it's a group think of persecutory, I think I'm saying that right, persecutory belief systems, okay? So they're persecuting you without knowing you, without speaking to you, by maybe something they've heard from a narcissist that's smearing you, or maybe people that didn't like you to begin with and they're just ready to jump on that bandwagon instead of just, you know, being brave enough to come to you. They want to just jump on these little bandwagons, okay? Which is not correct and can't be continue. All right, so it's very specific to gang stalking. Very, very specific, okay? So it's actually a group belief. So they have to be in groups, right? Bullies always have to be in groups, right? So it's a group belief where those involved simply parrot back. So they have to echo or parrot back. Well, there's no originality for narcissists. They just don't have it, okay? So they're parroting back, and they're just kind of repeating untruths. So they're repeating, you know, smearing lies, things they want to believe about you, whatever it is. They're going to just keep parroting and repeating those things kind of around you, okay? But they're going to do them subtly and to the point where you're going to kind of feel it. You're going to feel something's off, okay? That's your first flag, by the way. So they're going to be parroting, and they're going to be echoing these untrue rumors, these secret little smear campaigns going on, and really, and that's really just echoing. They're just echoing. They're not checking any information. They're not checking in with the victim. They're not checking their facts. They don't care. A lot of them are either as equally toxic, or they don't care if those blinders are on. They don't care. They're just following along with the crowd to blend in, or maybe to benefit from something, unfortunately, okay? And so what's happening here is they really have no original kind of thoughts or ideas of their own, okay? So they've got to echo these things. Okay, so there's 5 main reasons why, like, categories it's going to fall into. So you have rejection based, so you've rejected a group or their beliefs or whatever it may be, okay? It's intimacy based, so it can be a partner, family member, somebody you're close to, okay? And then the third one is incompetence, okay? So it's usually for a cover-up. If they're incompetent, or you know, they don't want people to find out they were incompetent, or they believe they weren't incompetent but you know they were, things like that, okay? Then you've got number 4, resentfulness. So this is where they're going to be resentful because perhaps you're telling them the truth, you're shining a light on things to others, things like that. So they're very resentful, okay? Because the more that they can keep the collective or keep everybody in the darkness, the more they're going to benefit, okay? It's like, you know, ripping the mask off, and they will do pretty much anything. And when I say anything, I really mean anything to keep the mask on, without me going into details, okay? And number 5, predatory. Big surprise, right? So predatory, so they simply actually enjoy it, which is ridiculous and sick. Okay, so it's really indicative here of someone that has a lack of empathy, low self-esteem, a lack of proper social etiquette or how to manage themselves socially properly. And it also is indicative of low to no self-control. So they just somehow feel they cannot control themselves. And so they have to kind of go along with these, you know, fake narratives and things that are going on, okay? So the research indicates psychological traits of these types of people tend to be based on Machiavellianism. Now, before I had spoken in regards to that for psychopathy, okay, psychopaths, especially factor 2s, they're very, very big on that punitive, that punishing, you know, getting a kick out of seeing someone's pain, okay, or distress, physical pain, or even emotional pain, distress, okay? So that's what I mean by when I say Machiavellianism, okay? Which is part of, you know, the narcissistic kind of groupings, okay? Also, it's indicative of sadism, obviously, and you know, surprise, you know, the general narcissism itself. Okay, so there is a very, very, very high prevalence of gang stalking, cyber gang stalking, in a cluster B. Okay, so cluster B: narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy, that little clumping or that grouping there. So it is there's a very high prevalence, and it's very, 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 very strongly related to stalking behavior. So these folks, it's just part of their core. It's just, they just do this. Like, I don't even think half of them even really think about that it's wrong, or, you know, that entitlement kind of comes in, right? Okay, so it includes borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and of course, general run-of-the-mill narcissism. Okay, so it's got a pervasive pattern of, surprise, entitlement and erratic or dramatic impulsive behavior. And it's also, you know, has a pattern of intense mood swings. So very, very intense, usually very negative or controlling behavior as well. Kind of adds into that. So who's really kind of doing this? All right. So because it's not just narcissists doing it. You might have a narcissist that kind of, you know, starts the ball rolling. He or she might, you know, pull in another toxic person, but, you know, you can actually have groups of 10, 20, 30 people, trust me, that are kind of all collaborating on, I guess, bigger things, okay, bigger picture things out there, and unfortunately you get kind of lumped into this foolishness. Okay, so the basic premise here, indicative of attention seeking. That's what they do, right? So it's a premise of attention and intimacy seeking. So they want that energy from you. Okay, they want that intimacy. They want that reaction from you. They want to pull your energy from you any way they can, negative, positive, just, you know, being nosy, being able to see what you're doing, doesn't matter to them. Okay, it's really disturbing. Okay, so it's that entitlement component, right? It's always the entitlement with these people. It just drives me bonkers, quite frankly. Okay, so it's being that glue. Like, that entitlement is the glue here, that holds these delusional impulses and those toxic behaviors together. Okay, that entitlement, that they think it's fine, that you are beholden to them. They have a right to your information. They have a right to know who you're talking to. You know, meanwhile, they're sneaking and talking to heaven only knows who behind your back. I think that's what blows my mind the most. Okay, and so, you know, why, you ask? Like, why, right? So it's usually a delusional, like it's delusional, right? So it's perceived, not real rumors. So they're perceiving, or they're delusional, or they've created some kind of rumor or narrative, and so they roll with that. Okay, so you stepped on their foot 10 years ago, and when you stepped on their foot, you know, you meant to do it. You meant to step on their foot, so that's it. Okay, like ridiculous things like that. Okay, and so they're really feeling slighted, usually over, you know, a made up, like I said, the foot thing, like a made up insult or something ridiculous like that. Okay, but really at the end of the day, if you look deep in, there is no substance. Okay, in their mind, it's the worst thing you can do to them. They are horrified, they're insulted, they're going to get you. They're going to, you know, rally everybody to their cause. They're going to make you stepping on their foot. You know, you took a baseball bat to their leg and they're in the hot, like they're going to push that ball as far as they can push it to add as many people into this toxic dynamic as they possibly can. Okay, including innocent people that are just probably horrified, but don't check. If you are pulled into this stuff, for land's sakes, check. Okay, check. If you have to call the person being discussed about, and you are an honest, upstanding person, you would do that. You would just call them and say, hey, so-and-so told me you, I don't know, climbed up a tree and killed a bird. Like, boom, like ridiculous crap. Okay, if you're hearing something ridiculous or something out of a context of what you believe about somebody, please just check with them. You go straight to the horse's mouth, always. Okay, so you know, and that's really, like, they do this stuff also to silence any truth tellers. If you're telling the truth, or you say you're just being quiet, like that's who you are. Okay, you're not into games, you're not into, you know, telling people everything about you and everything else, and you're just you just live your life. Okay, so it silences any truth telling. So they're out telling whatever they're telling. They don't really want you to speak up. They don't want you to say, no, that didn't happen, or this did happen, or some of this happened, or well, that's not even close to what happened. They don't want you to clarify. They don't want you to create clarity. They want to keep those, like, muddying those waters as much as they can muddy those waters. Okay, and so it's also to intimidate you, right? Because the more people, organizations, things around you that you feel are against you, the more you're just going to be kind of inundated from different areas around you, and the more you are going to kind of drop your light or drop who you are. Don't drop who you are. You keep going. Okay, it's to prevent also whistleblowing. So say you found out something about a toxic person, and actually good people, normal people, unless they think it's affecting other people, they just walk away. They're not going to tell anybody. But because, remember, it's a paranoid disorder. They're very, very paranoid, which is why they're doing this. Okay, so they want to prevent any whistleblowing. Okay, because any whistleblowing is going to stop them from acquiring more victims, from gaining more fake support from all these other people that they're pulling into this craziness. Okay, and really, it's also that you might be incorruptible. They've come to you and they've told you this little scam or something they're going to do, and they think you're going to go along with it, and you're like, no, that's not who I am. That is not what I do. I don't want anything to do with it. So if you're incorruptible, this is another thing that will put a target on your back, unfortunately. Okay, just because you're good or you're genuine, which is also ridiculous. Okay, so also it's also, like I mentioned before with the leg situation, it's petty retaliation. Just petty revenge, something for them to do, to entertain their little minds for the day, whatever, okay? Instead of just staying in their own lane, which is what they need to do. Stay in your own bloody lane, all right? Sorry, I'm getting a little riled up about it. So also, unfortunately, for, I'd say 80% of the people that kind of pile on, it's for some kind of financial gain, okay? Some kind of fraud, financial gain. And usually, it's from, bottom feeders, really. People that don't want to put that original work in, don't want to do things. They want to just be given things because, I don't know, they exist. I don't really understand the concept behind this one. Okay, and some actually will pay others to participate, okay? They will pay hackers. They will pay coworkers. They will pay your neighbors. They will pay your property management. They will pay your realtor. They will pay your ex-employer. They will pay, I don't know, like digital creators. They'll pay whoever they have to pay in order to kind of keep that false narrative up, to keep this toxic ball rolling. Okay, so some deeper reasons there are being to cover up or deflect crimes. Okay, sometimes it's just crimes. They're Ponzi schemes. They're crimes. And so what's happening is, even though you might not have even caught on, or you would, you weren't even really aware of it, what's kind of the kicker here, or the irony, is this makes you aware of it. If they would have just left you alone, you probably wouldn't have said a word. Like, you probably wouldn't have even noticed. So it actually brings notice to them, which is the irony and, frankly, the stupidity in it. Okay, and it can be for very serious crimes that maybe they've committed. Okay, fraud, unaliving others, drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, child business rings, like really bad stuff. Okay, so because a lot of them aren't going to go through this unless they're going to be on the hook for something fairly big, and they just don't want it to come out. They don't want this to be uncovered, and so that paranoia kicks in. So they have to watch your phone, they have to watch your modem, they have to watch your emails, they have to watch your car, whatever it may be. Okay, so that's where that paranoia is going to kind of enter into. Okay, so they're actually doing this as well, because, like, organizational, if it's an organization, so say a government organization, a legal organization, whatever, they're also going to do this organizationally to hide or deflect that internal corruption that's going on. Okay, and it might not be the whole department of whatever it is, maybe there's one or two people. Okay, but they're going to do all they can to pile on, so that the rest of their organization, the rest of the department, never really catches on to kind of the background things that they're doing, kind of misusing, misappropriating their power, misappropriating, paperwork, whatever it is they're doing, okay? And so they're typically benefiting from the, benefiting somehow from this, okay? So either they're benefiting financially, they're benefiting with maybe a cushy job, or maybe a higher ranking job. Like a lot of them are after clout, or they're trying to protect their fake public persona that they've been trying to put out to the others, whatever it may be, okay? So people involved might be a little shocking, but I'm going to just go to it, okay? So people involved can be your own children. I know. Neighbors, family members, ex-partners, secret societies, okay, such as Masons, Eastlights, Templars, okay? They kind of have their hands in a lot of different cookie jars, okay? And when those people are involved, they tend to have a lot of contacts, they tend to have a lot of clout. Also be very careful with those people. They don't mess around, but you don't let them mess with you. That's another add-on there. Okay, so they can also be acquaintances, okay? People that all of a sudden are getting real friendly with you. Always put that little antenna up, okay? People that are inquiring as to your business. Oh, did you buy that new dress? Oh, did you buy that, I don't know, that gadget? Did you do this? If all of a sudden this is coming out of nowhere and you're pretty sure how would they even know this? Put your little antenna up, okay? Cousins, parents, children, extended family members, okay? Just that haven't reached out in a while, or tend to reach out at really odd, strange times to ask very pointed questions. Just kind of use caution, okay? Just use caution, because you never know kind of who's kind of mixed in with who. You don't know, okay? You don't really know anybody really, do we? Okay, so there's agencies out there too, okay? Bigger agencies, and I say this with a grain of salt, okay? But like law enforcement, okay? So you've got police, judges, lawyers, doctors. All right, you've got dental clinics, you've got real estate agents, you've got just a lot of people with their little mitts in the mix, okay? You've got federal, and you have state or provincial, in my case, because I'm in Canada, but provincial governments, and you even have private investigators, okay? And honestly, usually people that hire private investigators, you want the truth, are criminals. I'd say 9 out of 10, okay? They're doing something wrong and they don't want to get caught. And so they need to know where you are, what you're doing, what's happening. That's what's going on there, okay? Now, some do it because, I don't know, their spouse is cheating or whatever, okay? But I'm going to tell you 9 out of 10 are using, private investigators to get dirt on you, okay? And if you're genuine or a good person or just kind of doing your own thing, there's no dirt to get. So I say let them have at it. Who cares, okay? But at the end of the day, it's your privacy and it's your life, okay? And it's sacred, okay? It's something that you need to protect, okay? So the cats who dive into this kind of domestic terrorism, I call it, they tend to suffer from, very, very serious mental health issues. Well, it's not shocking, is it? And delusional beliefs, okay? And sometimes a number of these people can even suffer from schizophrenia. Believe it or not, it can overlap because, the reality is a little bit skewed or different, okay? And so things might look a certain way to them, but they're not that way, okay? So sometimes that can happen. I am not saying in any way, I think mental health is so important, it's unbelievable. And for the record and clarity, I myself have severe ADD, okay? All right, so the law, we always have to remember here that the law, these actions, and this is for all of you scammers out there. So this is against the law. This is highly criminal behavior, especially in 2025, okay? So your actions and these actions are traceable. Everything leaves a digital fingerprint, my friends, okay? Your IP addresses, your burner numbers, all that crap can be checked, okay? It can also be given to authorities, just an FYI. All right, so they're provable. Okay, it's provable in a court of law. Okay, so if you're seeing these things, make your notes. Document. Who called? Why they called? Why was it an unknown number? And check them out. Check them out as best you can. Okay, and so these are highly traceable. So keep that in mind. Okay, they don't have the power that they think they have. They just don't. All right, so this includes, they will hack or lock your social media accounts. Okay, that is also highly criminal, and you need to report it. Okay, you report that. If it's Facebook, you report it to Meta. They'll give you your metadata. regardless if people delete their crap or pull out or anything else, you've got them, okay? You've got the metadata. It cannot be manipulated, okay? It's highly regulated. So you order your data. From whatever app it is, you order your data. As soon as you figure out something weird's going on, because then you've got the proof, okay? You've got the proof of the IP addresses that it's originating from, the devices they're originating from, even the locations. Just a little side note there, okay? And you know, and these criminals really kind of harness that power. They are harnessing the power of the internet, social media, you know, the faceless stuff that goes on. You know, people behind the screens tend to be very, you know, very brave until you're in their face, and then they're cowards. Then they, oh, I didn't do anything, blah blah blah. No. You get your proof, you keep it. Trust me, okay? So in the USA, I'm in Canada myself, okay? So in Canada, what you do is there is a cyber fraud squad, okay, through the RCMP, okay? Make sure your device isn't hacked, including your laptop, cell, your emails, okay? If you have to go make another email at the library or use like a WhatsApp number for now or whatever, just don't use your same device, because if they're going through all this trouble, they're probably hacking your devices. As a matter of fact, as we speak, I believe my cell phone is still being hacked, but I'm about to change all that. But I digress, okay? So I know in Canada, RCMP is your best bet, okay? Because unfortunately, we don't have a lot of higher places, okay? But also for both the USA and Canada, Crime Stoppers is a great place to go, okay? You just add in your cloud links, or you add in your files and keep files on this stuff, okay? Just push it to the cloud or your Google Drive or wherever, okay? Print it out if you have to, put it on a USB, whatever you have to do, okay? But you go onto the Crime Stopper websites and you can just like boom, 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 attach so many things. And what they will do is send it to the proper people in the proper areas to work out for you, okay? So that you don't have to be trying to find all the different agencies. So it's kind of a helpful thing there, okay? Now in the USA, where can you go? The FBI, okay? I myself have had to deal with them. And, you know, they're fairly open to the information. But you do have to kind of have, you know, try to get people's social profiles, try to get their information. I personally use Social Catfish because there's a free trial and all that stuff too, right? But, you know, try to find like an online tool like Social Catfish or whatever you want to use. You don't have to use that. I just happens to be a godsend for me. But what, you know, just try to get their profiles, try to get their associates, try to get their VoIP numbers, okay? If you see anything that's a VoIP, which is a VoIP number, that is a romance or scammer number that they're all sharing. And that's indicated immediately that you have a problem if you see that, okay? Immediately. If you see that, you block that person. I don't care who they are, you block them, okay? And also just an FYI for those doing it out there, and for those that think it's funny or amusing or they'll get away with it. This is actually a very bad criminal charge these days. It's very serious, okay? It is a criminal harassment. Very bad, okay? Criminal harassment, and it's up to 10 years in prison and about $250,000 in fines, plus whatever you're going to have to pay back to the person you've done it to that's going to sue you. Okay, so not a bright idea. It's not really worth the risk, but they seem to think it is. Okay, so in Canada, in the USA, you know, if you want to check for being hacked, so say on your phone, okay, that probably is going to be the first thing they do is hack your modem or your phone. Okay, and so for instance, on your phone, if you wanted to check if somebody is hacking you, I have an iPhone, so I can't speak for Android. You might have to look that up, okay? But if it is on an iPhone, say, you can type in #21#, and then, you know, like you go into your phone like you're calling somebody, and you type #21#, and you press your call button, and it will stop any forwarding. Because what they'll do too is they'll forward and re-robo dial your phone, okay? So, and they'll do it within your banking apps while they're like defrauding your credit cards, all kinds of crazy stuff, okay? I'm not joking around, all right? To stop all forwarding, okay? Because what will happen is you'll see numbers pop up on your phone, 800 numbers, weird numbers, unknown numbers, burner numbers, you know, that's how they deal, right? And you'll see those for a second, but then when you go back into your actual phone to look, it's not going to show it, and those numbers that you just saw a little while ago, that's your first flag, okay? So then what you're going to do is you got to go to your carrier, Okay, so whatever your carrier is, you sign in and you want to go into your usage, and you're going to see the actual numbers. Yeah, I know. All right, so, and to stop all forwarding from, because they'll like have 20 people taking turns forwarding your calls. I'm not joking. I'm not even, I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Okay, so to stop all forwarding from all these lunatics, you can dial pound 002 pound, okay? And then you press the call button like you're phoning out, and then that's actually going to stop all the forwarding from all of them. Doesn't matter who's doing it, okay? It's going to attach to your device, okay? And or you can call *73. And if anybody has suggestions on here on kind of, Android or whatever, feel free, pile on. All right, so indicators around you that this is happening, that there's stalking happening, either through your gadgets or kind of in the 3D around you, okay, will be a drain in your energy or your happiness or your satisfaction in life, okay? There's going to be just this noticeable drain. Like, it doesn't matter, you could be having a great day and out of the blue, you're just going to feel this drain, this dread, that this, something's going on around me. Something's happening, okay? That's your first flag. Something's wrong. Very first flag. All right. So also you're going to see financial red tape out of the blue. So you're applying for this or you're trying to do that. And all of a sudden, you're going to have extra red tape, or they're going to put up roadblocks out of the blue that other people aren't really having and things like that. And you need to investigate the organizations that are doing that, because that means somebody is inserted within the organization. Okay, it can happen. Amazon, UPS, the big guys. Okay, just always check phone numbers. Always check who you're dealing with, including these chats and things in Amazon and TD apps and banking apps and all this. Check them, because they will redirect them to scammers in the area and stuff. Okay, all right. So really, you'll also get a feeling of density. Okay, and by density, I mean like pressure around you, like all this strange like pressure, like it'll be in your vibration, it'll be around you, like you won't be able to ignore it. Okay, you're going to get a constant feeling that something is wrong, something's up, something like another shoe is going to drop, something isn't right in your sphere. That's another big indicator. All right, and something, the other shoe's going to drop, something's going to happen. I just feel it's going to happen. That's another indicator to kind of perk up and pay attention to what's going on around you. So, you'll have odd or outright glaring or ghosting from people before that used to talk to you fine, like, hi, how are you? Like, or even that you were close to. All of a sudden you're going to get glares, or they'll give you one-liners back in a text, or, you'll see them out and about and they'll glare at you, or they'll kind of like give you side looks, or just a feeling like they dislike you all of a sudden, and you've done nothing to them. That's also usually indicative that somebody is saying things that are not true out there, okay? And so that should kind of perk you up a little bit as well. So electronically, it's really focused on a mass surveillance psychosis, okay? So they're not dealing with a full deck, and they have to get other people in with them in order for them to somehow convince themselves that this is okay, that this is fine, and that they're protected. And they are not protected. It's all very, very traceable. All right, so in regards to cameras in your home, okay, if you have cameras in your home and you're starting to notice the stuff going on, okay, it's going to be indicative in a few things, okay? So look for cameras that will pan, tilt, move around, zoom without your input. So nothing's moving, nothing's happening. You're sitting watching TV and zzz, camera's looking at you, and you're like, what's going on? What's happening? Nothing's moving, nothing. That means somebody's manually controlling your camera. So they've signed into your modem or whatever, and they're controlling your stuff, okay? You might see LED lights blinking on, blinking off out of nowhere in the middle of the night. You might hear an echo, like a very kind of low echo, or you might even hear strange sounds, like clicking kind of sounds, okay? You might see other user accounts in your camera app. So go into your camera apps and check see if there's other user accounts that have been added in, and it does happen. That's including like your Amazon accounts, your email accounts, which they'll forward, all kinds of stuff. Okay, just double check everything. All right, so look for unfamiliar logins as well for cameras, like, because it'll give you like your activity and where you've logged in and all of that, and look for like strange logins or weird times that you were never around, things like that, right? Okay, so you might also look for spikes in your bandwidth, okay, in your modem. So if there's big spikes at certain times in the bandwidth, it means somebody's pulling from your internet, somebody's pulling from your Wi-Fi. So you want to check that. Or if you get locked out often, all of a sudden you're trying to check your camera, you're trying to check an app, you're trying to check something, and boom, it's locking you out, or it's asking for your password, or asking you to change your password, really ridiculous things like that. So to fix like a camera, you want to disconnect from the internet right away. Just disconnect out. You want to change the password right away. And preferably just don't do it on the same device, because the chances are, if your camera is hacked, your laptop's hacked, your phone is hacked, the whole deal. So we'll go to a library, or take a book from Narcissist, get a burner off of Marketplace and get like a temporary phone number and do it all from there. Okay, but chances are they're going to see everything you're doing. So just be cautious, or you just kind of back into, they'll still have all your sign-ins, they'll still have everything, okay? But you disconnect from the internet, you would change your password, you'll update the firmware to it. So just kind of find out who the manufacturer is. So you can run a malware scan, also on the computer, run a malware scan, and also get a VPN service, okay? Valuable, very valuable. You want to also enable two-factor authorization, preferably that shows your face. Also, they'll use your picture. Okay, they'll use pictures they find of you online and stuff. So just make sure it's very good quality, and it has to read your face. Also, you can contact the actual manufacturer of that camera or laptop or cell phone or whatever it may be, and they can actually guide you through on kind of different ways to combat this, okay, in modern times here. And also you need to notify the authorities, okay? Just keep a track of this, because trust me, you will need it later. So indicators of cyber stalking. Okay, so cyber meaning gadgets, devices, okay? Your modem or your gadgets will slow down, okay, or even drop out. So you're in the middle of watching a movie and you'll get what I call the death circle. Yeah, so you've got really powerful internet, and all of a sudden, you can't even look at your phone. You can't do anything, and it's just dropping out or freezing on you. That is a big indicator, huge indicator. Also, if your cell phone is hot, really hot, or gets hot really quickly and dies, another indicator. All right, so numbers when it comes to like modems and things. So your numbers will show briefly on that cell, which I talked about before. So double check all those numbers that just pop up and disappear and stuff. But back to the modem. So call your internet carrier, whoever that may be, okay? Preferably from another device, because again, the chances, like once they get into your modem, they kind of have you by the throat, okay? And until that kind of should be your very first step before you do the other steps, if you can, okay? So and try to do it obviously from like a friend's phone or the library, or get yourself a burner, or whatever you got to do, okay? But you call your internet carrier, whoever that carrier may be, and you just kind of report that to them. So what they're going to do is they're going to make a report that goes out to kind of the people that handle that, okay? Carriers actually they have investigators, and they'll go through all of that, okay? They'll go through the IP addresses and stuff for you. You don't even have to do it. And they'll put locks on it. They'll do all kinds of things, okay? You just have to kind of instruct them. All right, so you take screenshots while you're there, though, before you change that password or do anything. You're going to probably notice a bunch of really weird IP addresses all over the place, okay? Take screenshots of those IP addresses, because you will need those to kind of give to the FBI or the RCMP or Crime Stoppers, or whatever you choose to do, okay? You will need them. And even if you don't need them now or want to pursue it now, at least you have them, okay? It's always a good idea, to have them, okay? It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, I say, right? Okay, and then you have to reset your modem, and then you change your password. Okay, so that, because if you try to change it and they're still in, they're going to just see your new code, right? That just kind of makes sense. But a lot of people that aren't techie wouldn't know that. So thought I'd give that to you. All right, so also you can set those modem settings, like try to get into your modem. Usually there's apps for your modem, okay? And you can actually log. You can log any unknown ones that keep trying to come through, and they'll keep track of it for you. So it's kind of nice as well. All right, and they can kind of look into any further unknown IP addresses that are kind of trying to sneak onto your stuff, okay? All right, and causes to victims. So causes to victims are really bad, like how it affects them, okay? So they can actually get trauma, PTSD. They can have a loss of trust in others around them, like absolutely everyone around them. Everyone, okay? It can affect their judgment, even daily judgment or trust of people that typically they would trust, okay? Like their dentist, their hairdresser, whoever, okay? They can, or it'll actually affect their trust or judgment in their self and their abilities and what they can do, okay? Which is ridiculous. And just even with day-to-day things, it can really affect someone. All right, so they can also experience even more isolation if that's not possible. And some of us, we enjoy it, so not a big deal. Okay, but their ability to cope again is very largely affected by this. They can have a lot of those missed opportunities, right? Redirecting their emails, screwing with their communication, things like that. Okay, setting them up, actually even setting them up with the things they're doing, illegal things, setting you up so that it looks like you're sending a message or you're doing this or that. It gets a little nuts, okay? So, and they do all of this really, like all of these crazy things. It's to keep that toxic machine fed, to just keep that feed going, all right? Because they want to keep it secret. They want to keep the information contained. They want to know what you know. They want to know who you're telling. It's insane. Honestly, it's insane. Okay, so that ties up the gang stalking portion, which I really covered the cyber stalking, but also within the 3D with people being around you. Okay, if you feel like you're seeing the same cars all the time, or there's a weird car and it's always around the corner of your house, 3 o'clock every day, or like you're starting to notice patterns, note them, document them, write them down, and if you need them, you have them, right? All right, and so I as well, I'm just going to end on that, and if you'd like, you can certainly kind of just head on over to my socials, and you can certainly look into any of them, okay, like Facebook, TikTok, and all of that. They were hacked, but I've gotten back into them, and if anybody notices anything, I'll just shoot me a line, that'd be great. But they should all be back up and running properly, okay? Including Quora, okay? Quora. And I have almost 1 million views of my answers, so they must be wanted somewhere, okay? And they also hack that, by the way, including, any monetization, which I don't really care about, but they will actually go this far if they feel that you are, telling the light and you're doing the right thing. They will actually go this far, okay? And so at the end of the day, just really be aware of what's going on around you. And also the apps on your phone, okay? So like Facebook and all that stuff, sign out and sign in every once in a while, because they can also make it so that, like, if you're never signing out of something, you're not going to get an alert. So if they've broken into whatever it is and you never sign out, it's not going to alert you that someone signed in or signed out. So every once in a while, sign out of your apps completely and sign back in. That's another little tip I can give you there too, to kind of just keep your maintenance going on that, right? Okay, so I hope I've kind of answered any of those questions, and I really felt it needed to be done, okay? And also you can join me on my YouTube channel, and I also have a Facebook page. The Facebook page as well was hacked, but I've gotten back in, so we're good to go. Deb's Corner Canada, okay? And I'm gonna just sign off here with just remember your light. Remember your light. Don't let anybody squash it. Don't let anybody squash the truth. Don't let anybody talk you into things that are not comfortable for you, or that you don't want to do, or that in your eyes are not right. Don't allow it, okay? It's your life. You don't allow it. You did not come here to be manipulated by toxic people. You came here for a purpose, okay? So you stick with that. And just remember, you are never alone, ever. No matter what you think, you are never alone. All right, so thanks to everyone who has stuck with me. I so appreciate it, and I love you all. God bless.